Hello and welcome back. My name is Sam, and I'm with Homeschool Connect Expo, and we are here the month of February during our online college fair at the Homeschool Connect Expo. And during all of February, we're going to be highlighting universities and colleges and ones that are welcoming homeschoolers with open arms that have things to offer them. So. Thank you for watching this. If you're watching this live or you're watching this a little bit later in February, all the links are down below to the college fair, to the people I'm interviewing. And this one's special. This one's a special thing. I've got Jean Burk from College Prep Genius with us that we're going to be interviewing and talking about it because, with universities and colleges, they're great, but with homeschoolers, there's a lot of fears of what to do and how to do. And Jean's been with us from the very beginning for years now. And I love her to death. And she's super smart when it comes to helping your kids ace these tests and figure out how to do it and everything else. So let me bring her on and introduce her. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you, Sam. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And I've been going about, letting everybody know you've been here from the very beginning with the Homeschool Connect Expo, and you've got a ton of speaker sessions, and I love what you do and how you do things to help homeschoolers out, and not just homeschoolers, but we're homeschoolers, the Homeschool Connect Expo. Why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit more about you for the people who might not know you?
Well, thank you. Well, my name is Jean Burk, and I'm actually from Texas. So y'all might get to hear a lot of y'alls today. So just have to bear with me. Sam, you're from Georgia.
Yep.
But I'm excited because as a homeschooling mom, a family, we were one income. And some 16, 17 years ago, when my son Josh was in ninth grade, we literally had no money for college. And it was one of those things that I think Jim and I thought, well, we want our kids to go to college someday, but we never really put a plan to it. We didn't put any money to it because we didn't have any. And so time slipped away. And all of a sudden, my son is at the end of ninth grade, and we're faced with no money for college and no way to go. And I have a friend of mine who says, hey, did you know you could get free college based on a simple thing like a test score? And I was like, seriously? Are you kidding me? I had never heard that before. And I didn't have any money for one of those thousands of dollars prep schools or anything. And so with Josh, we really had to do everything on our own. We had to figure out the test. We started doing stuff very helter-skelter. We started going through a lot of test questions. He took a lot of practice tests. There's a couple classes locally that we took, and he learned a couple little things. And kind of a short story long, he became a National Merit Scholar, which basically, if you interpret that, that means he ended up getting a full ride to just about anywhere he wanted to go. Our mailbox every day was inundated, probably this full of letters and information from colleges for about a year. So it ended up being like 7 trash bags full when it was all said and done, because my son, I know that because my son piled them in the corner. That's what he did, and just let them pile up. And I'm the one who threw them away. But and then this was not just a full ride. Some of the offers were not only free tuition and room and board, but grad school money and study abroad stipends, honors dorms, spending cash. I mean, that's the kind of the perks that they were giving. Just because what happened, and at the time I didn't know this, but when your child has a high test score, it causes a school's rankings to go up. And they're all about their rankings. So the higher their rankings, the more money they get, and the more money they'll give you. And so he was given all these amazing perks. And then my daughter, after she got her free college offers and scholarships, my friends were calling me going, okay, how'd y'all get free college? And that's when I ultimately just thought, oh, I never thought about that. Sort of try to put everything together that we learned and the patterns that we learned and put it in a book, and then started class about 15 years ago. And we've been really blessed to teach our program, even though the SAT has changed twice since I started. We adjusted all that, but we started teaching out of our home. Then we went to schools. Then we went to other cities, other states. Now we taught in several countries. And so, we've got taught tens of thousands of students, and many of them, what's really cool about it is many of my students have raised their SAT as high as 700 points and ACT as high as 9 points. I've even got many, and here's the sort of the icing on the cake. So my son, based on a test score, my son was offered numerous full rides to law school based on his LSAT, and my daughter was offered free rides on grad school, GRE. So test taking goes just beyond getting to college and getting scholarship money.
Okay. I had no clue. So you can actually get a full scholarship. Is it PSAT, SAT, ACT? Does it matter?
All the above, but they're different. So, for example, on the National Merit Scholarship Program, which you take the PSAT in the junior year, that's for the National Merit Scholarship. That's where colleges just kind of roll out that red carpet. SATs, you can get full rides as well. Sometimes it's just full tuition. Sometimes it's a complete full ride, and sometimes that's automatic. Sometimes it's competitive. They may even ask about your GPA as well. And ACT, the same thing too. So. Yes, all the above, because my daughter got her scholarships on her SAT and my son got his on his PSAT.
Okay. All right. And then this is for homeschoolers. Homeschoolers were open to take all these tests.
Oh yeah, it's for every student. So if you have some non-homeschoolers watching, but yes, this is for everyone. As a matter of fact, one of the things about SATs and ACTs is for us as a homeschooler, it validates our transcript. It gives that credibility because, a college could look at our transcript and think, well, how do I know y'all just didn't make that stuff up? And they don't. And so it gives that not only the validation, but it also says, hey, you know what? We know what we're talking about. We didn't just give our kids mommy grades. We don't just give our kids, a 4.0, not, which is kind of a myth from people think on the outside world.
Yeah. Now on these tests, when can you start taking them? When that was the one thing I had no clue.
Well, there's no age limit, number one.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, you can actually do the PSAT 8-9 in fourth grade for a talent search like the Duke Tip or Johns Hopkins or Northwestern or one of those. But you definitely want to start early. And this is one of the things that I tell people, because when I speak at conferences, so many people will come up to me and they'll be almost sometimes in tears of, hey, we haven't done nothing to prepare. We're scrambling. We're at the end of the line. And one of the things is you can incorporate this into your daily school and you can call it can be an elective. But the sooner you start, the more time you have to improve, because Sam, you can't get time back.
No.
And that's unfortunate for a lot of people that I meet.
And it really, I mean, it sneaks up. I'm an empty nester now. I don't even know how that happened, but we had 3 kids and it sneaks up on you so fast, because I think in junior year, they start looking at colleges and everything else. And a blink of an eye, you're at the last time. And now we have COVID. So how's COVID and all this testing? I mean, are they doing testing, or is it per state, or how does it all work now?
Well, definitely in the very beginning of COVID last year, pretty much everybody shut down all SATs and ACTs because you couldn't go anywhere, and you certainly couldn't open it up to a room full of a bunch of people. And so, especially in the beginning of last year, in the spring into early summer, there were so many seniors who needed that extra test, or those juniors who needed it to get their applications in. And what happened was a lot of schools went test optional temporarily. But the problem with that was you didn't get any scholarship money for the most part, because scholarship money is tied to your test scores. But ultimately what happened was people were very frustrated. And something, I don't know if your listeners know this, but the CLT, I don't know if you know anything about the CLT, the classic learning test, which has been about 5 or 6 years. Well, they were already remotely proctoring tests. And so the SATs and ACTs tried to put together some kind of online. It was a disaster. It never worked out because it's a long time to build a platform like that. And so what happened was the CLT, which is on the same par as the SATs and ACTs, the difference was it's all digital, it's all online, and their enrollment went up 1,000%. And all colleges were accepting it. And I say that from Jeremy Tate told me that. Jeremy Tate is the founder of the CLT. And so when people would contact us, we would say, look, contact the CLT company, because more than likely your college is going to accept it in lieu of the SAT and ACT cancellations. And so that was the difference for many, many families who knew that. I tried to get the word out to as many people as I could about that. Uh, but the other thing too is the CLT. If you it's more than just getting into college. They also have like the CLT 10, which is on par with the National Merit Scholarship Program for the junior PSATs. So you can get full rides on it as well. So they've really taken off. I mean, I've been with them. I'm really, really blessed that we are the official test prep for the CLT.
Okay.
But you can get half off if you just use my code CPG18. They'll have to give you half off the registration
Oh,
to do it. But the thing about it is it is a very rigorous test. When you're talking about SATs and ACTs, as a matter of fact, Harvard sent Jeremy Tate a letter, and I've got that letter on my website. You can go read it. And they say, you know what? The CLT has become the differentiator for our students because everybody, for example, Harvard has a high SAT or ACT score. You couldn't even get in. But what is the thing that's going to make your child stand out? And it could be the CLT. So definitely
okay.
check it out. And by the way, if there's some people listening that they're still have their SATs and ACTs shut down, don't call the college. You're going to get some sophomore in the office who doesn't know what they're talking about. Contact CLT, cltexam.com, and they'll give you the steps on who to talk to at the college.
Okay. All right. Wow, I didn't even know that. I mean, that's amazing. And so everybody check it out. The all the links are down below to Gene and College Prep Genius's online exhibit booth. And those have all the information that you have and links out to their speaker sessions, and then also out to the website. So go check it out because holy cow, the 50% off. The just use her code. That's awesome. That's very cool. That's a whole nother step, for homeschoolers, to be able to do. Now on these tests, you can take them multiple times. Is there a track record? Or is there do people get to see how many times you've taken it or see all your scores?
That's a really good question because I think a lot of people are confused. A lot of counselors, sadly, will tell a student, you can only take it a couple times, 3 times at the most. And then if after that, colleges are going to think you're dumb. That is so false. Because if you think of it logically, which these are basically logic tests, if a college gets their rankings on a test score, they want you to get a higher score. It's going to elevate them up to a better standing. And so they want you to take it many times. But number one, on the SAT, there's no limit. You can take it unlimited amounts of time. Same thing with the CLT. ACT, you can take 12 times. Now the great thing is they have 2 really cool things. One is called score choice. That is where you get to pick the score that you want and send it in whenever you want. So your child could take it in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, or even 10th grade. If you're not sure what the score is going to be, don't send it in. You don't have to. You could wait till you get the right one, then send it in. The other thing is super score. About 80% of colleges super score the SAT and about 70% super score the ACT. And what that means is colleges will take the highest scores from different tests. So let's just say, for example, your student took the October SAT and got a really high math score, but then they took another SAT in December and their reading was higher. Then the colleges would take both, cherry pick them, the highest score, and give you an overall super score, which is, of course, more scholarship money. So that's why people should not be afraid to continually take them as many times as you can. The more you take them, the more you gain that test maturity and you lessen that anxiety.
Okay. And on these tests, they're a way to get into a school because a lot of schools have minimums, correct? And then get scholarships. Is there any other advantage of taking these scores and making sure you get it good, or are those the kind of the 2 to get into college and potentially get scholarships?
Well, absolutely, because that was the main reason, money. I mean, we're especially as homeschooling, we're all about the money. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't have the minimum, number one, you can't get in. I mean, a lot of athletes, very talented athletes who've been perfecting their sport for years, and yet the school may not emphasize grades and test scores, and so they'll get a really, really low score, and they can't even take advantage of their athletic scholarship because they can't even get in. And why are these so important? Because as you know, a 4.0 at one high school is not the same at another. Every school weighs and calculates their scores differently. So the only fair way that a college can compare a homeschooler versus a public school, private school student is a test like an SAT or ACT, because it levels the playing field. You know, your child or somebody listening's child may take really hard, rigorous courses, have hard teachers, for example, and have, let's say, a 4.0. But then the guy down the street who goes to a very easy school and has easy teachers has a 4.0 as well. So on paper, they look the same. So there's no way a college can take those two students and compare them based on a GPA. But this an SAT or an ACT or PSAT or CLT, they are all standardized. Same questions on every test for every student. And that is the one thing that we all have in common is our critical thinking skills. And so this is one way to showcase that. And that's why these tests are beatable, because a standardized test has standardized questions and standardized answers. And once you understand the recurring patterns, you can beat the test.
Okay. So this kind of goes into my next question. I am a horrible test taker. Absolutely horrible. Is this why you see a lot of people bomb tests, just because they're horrible test takers, or they don't understand the logic behind the questions?
I think both. So we get a lot of valedictorians in our classroom, or top 10% of schools, and you would think that they would all have an amazing test score. It is absolutely not true. They may be very, very smart, but yet they're not a good test taker. And let me tell you the difference between the two. You can almost categorize most students in two different categories. And of course, there's variations and crossovers, the good test taker versus the bad test taker. A good test taker is someone who's very logically minded naturally. They kind of see those patterns. And for those students, just learning a few more little things can really put them over the top. Then you have what someone might consider themselves a bad test taker. And that is what I call the rule follower. That is a student who may be just as smart as the other student, but yet they overthink everything. They dot their I's and cross their T's. They overthink. They read every word. They work out every problem the long way, which is fine for class, except for not on a test, because you've only got about a minute per question. So here's the good news. Logic is not a personality trait. Logic is a skill, like piano, like golf. And even though you might not be naturally logically minded, you can become a better logical thinker. I mean, there's a lot of great curriculum out there, and, you know, puzzles and games and things that you can do. And I'm a big believer in people starting your kids early on that type of curriculum. Adding some kind of logic, into your school will make a huge difference, especially when it comes to taking these tests.
Okay. Yeah, because I was told, you can't study for the SAT. So don't even try.
You
But
can't. You cannot study for a test because it's not about content. You have to study the tests themselves, how the College Board writes the questions, how they write the answers. And once you understand the logic and the mindset, then those same recurring patterns are going to be on every single test.
okay. So can College Prep Genius help prepare the students, and how do you do that?
So what we've been doing for some 15 plus years now is we take and teach the students that here's the question, here's how you find the right answer, here's how you eliminate the wrong answers, and this is how you basically discern what's right and what's wrong, or you're being tricked. You got to understand, there's one objective, indisputable answer and several distractors. And once students can discern that, then they can do very, very well. Now, it's not instant success. It's not a pill. It's a program, and it takes time. You can't learn a couple chords on the piano today, and then next week you're playing Beethoven. And the key is accuracy before speed. So once you understand the way the question's written, and how not to fall for the trick answers, then you can do very well. That's what we recommend starting early, because you need time. It's not going to happen overnight. And same thing with sports. You don't learn, how to play football and just a few practices, so you're not the national champion. So
Yeah.
definitely we've been doing that, and we've been very blessed, very successful. We've won numerous awards, which I'm very humbled and honored by. But it all came out of the fact that we got free college, and everybody wanted to know how we did it. And we said, hey, it was a test score, and here's how you do it.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that when you or talk to people and everything else, that's how some of the best things have been invented, just because out of necessity, And so What are a couple other things that you might say to parents, homeschoolers? One, not to wait. But what would be some other things for them to really start doing right now? Do you have to be enrolled in one of these expensive prep courses, or I mean, there's a bunch of them that are popping up, and they're very, very expensive. That going to help the student out?
I have seen uh, prep classes range anywhere from hundreds, upper hundreds to thousands, and I've seen one as high as $25,000, which I could not believe. One of the things that you have to do when you're looking into any test prep company or course is reliable testimonials. A lot of people pay for testimonials. A lot of people have fake testimonials. I've run into that. What is the reputation of the company, and what do they teach? And when you're searching, and like you said, there's many, even some of the name brand companies teach the wrong stuff. They will teach your child a lot of content, thousands of vocabulary words, and more math concepts. And that is all completely unnecessary, because like as you said yourself, you cannot study for these tests. You study the tests themselves. And so the key is not that. The key is knowing that every question can be answered in 30 seconds or less. That, for example, the reading section, you've got 5 types of questions. They're all answered differently. You've got 3 types of passages. The math section, of course, there's a long way to work it out, and then there's a really fast way to work out every problem very quickly, very logically. And then the writing question section, you only get about 47 seconds per question, but there's one particular pattern that you can answer probably as many as 75% of the questions in about 10 seconds. Because that's, once you understand the patterns, it's not about reading the passages and trying to absorb all the information. It's all about what they're not necessarily seeing how good you are in math. They're wanting to know how well you can answer a math question using your critical thinking skills. Because a lot of students who are good in math, and it's their number one subject in school, bomb the math section. Not because they don't understand the concept, it's because they spend 2 or 3 minutes on it, doing it the normal math way. But you can't do that when you're just going to burn the clock up, when you've only got about a minute, to answer a question that normally takes you 3 minutes.
Okay. The All right, and then you had mentioned earlier. I got a question coming from one of our listeners here. You had mentioned talent search. What is the talent search? The
Well, so the talent search, and the big one has been the Duke tip, but Duke tip has put that on hold right now because of COVID. But you still have other ones like Johns Hopkins and Northwestern and Stanford and Rocky Mountain. What these are is, and again, your child can qualify in 4th grade. What the main one is in 7th grade. And what happens is when your child is qualified, and you're qualified either through like the Stanford, the Iowa, you have even a parent, you can nominate your own child. Your student will take the SAT or ACT in 7th grade. And then if you hit a certain score, which is not real high, you get this big award ceremony. You get your name in the paper. You can be state recognized and start getting scholarship offers in 7th grade. I've met people with full rides
wow.
in 7th grade, and it looks very prestigious on the transcript, especially for us homeschoolers. And so it's definitely something to check into. I'm saddened about Duke right now being on hold, but that's just kind of the situation that we're in right now. But definitely just Google those talent searches. And I think one thing too, it kind of sets your child on a trajectory in middle school. I've got lots of information on, you and I were talking earlier about, from beginning to end, what do? Walking you through, what you should be doing in what grade, and how do you get that financial aid? There's $144 billion in financial aid and $24 billion every year in outside private scholarships. And so how do you tap into that? I've got a new book coming up of having all that information there. But the knowing that pretty much, if possible, now if you've got listeners who have their kids already into high school and all, there's always hope. I get many a senior who gets a full ride, and they're at the last, they're at the very end of the line. But knowing that free college can really start in middle school, once you understand what you should be doing, can change everything and take the stress off the kids later on. Because once you get into high school, you get so overwhelmed. You've got school and homework and a part-time job, and maybe you play sports and clubs and church. And so now your timing has become the killer of opportunities, because now you have less time than you would have possibly had, back in middle school.
Okay. All right. And then one question is College Prep Genius. What is it? So we kind of get down to nitty gritty here about College Prep Genius. What is it? Is it a course? Is it a whole thing to help students?
Well, I guess our flagship program is our how to basically beat the SAT, ACT, CLT program. And there's several ways you can do our program. And what we do in it is we teach the kids, okay, here's some shortcuts and strategies. Now take that information and apply it to these questions, these College Board type questions. And it can be done through several ways. We have an online e-course that you can just go online. It's self-paced. If you have a self-directed student, you'll have homework, you'll have quizzes. We tell you what you should be doing when. We show you how to get free practice, real practice tests. And then we have, for 15 years, we've been teaching live boot camps all across America as well as other countries. Unfortunately, last year, those came to a halt, just like everything else in conventions. And so we just kind of started back in a few places that have opened up on doing our live boot camps. But we pivoted, like many people had to last year, and we started our virtual boot camps where you have a live teacher, one of my professional teachers, who will come on, show you how to beat the test. It's very interactive. It's not just your child staring at the screen. And again, we'll say, okay, for example, here's a question, here's some strategies. Now on your workbook, do these questions. And then we go back over every question and show you why the right one's right, why the wrong ones are wrong, so you can correct your mistakes. And so so you can do that via e-course. We're in a lot of schools. You can do it on the live boot camp, the virtual boot camps. And then I also have a book called, actually I have it here, High School Prep Genius. This right here, and I was really honored because it won the Blue Ribbon Award for the best resource, but it's basically a step-by-step guide of what you should be doing every month of every year, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade.
Okay.
It just goes into like more in depth on the talent searches. And it's just kind of a direction of, okay, here, and we have public high schools that say, listen, we're buying one from every incoming freshman, because we don't even know 9/10 of this stuff in here. Because one of the things about, and you may have some counselors listening, but one of the things is this: most high school counselors are so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They have so much on their plate, changing schedules, discipline problems, and so they really can't really help your child get into college. It's mainly just to get them out of high school.
Yeah. Yeah. Or my counselor, who I think he was the high school coach, and they had to give him something. And that's why I decided to homeschool my kids. But because he was horrible, he didn't want to. But so what? Not to put you on the spot, but what are some of the cost of variables? Because we started seeing all these crazy numbers for all these SAT prep and help and all this other stuff. What are some of the costs to get involved with you? Because that book is huge, and I can't even imagine. I would have loved to have that to tell me what to do at one point in time for my kids.
Well, one of the things too, and I get a lot of flack, believe it or not, I get a lot of flack from people who say, why are you so quote unquote cheap? You must not work. Well, our e-course, just our fundamental, is $139. I mean, as a homeschooling mom, we had no money for college, and I would not stick it to people. I've been told that I should be charging thousands of dollars, because not only do we have tens of thousands of success stories over the last 15 years, I'm also a Fox News contributor. I've been on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Ion, WE, TWA, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I say that because that, even though it sounds crazy, but being on TV actually makes your credibility go up like 7 times. But we choose not to do that. And then if you move into like our online e-course, I'm sorry, virtual boot camp with one of my professional teachers, it's $355. And that includes, you'll get the hard copy books. We have a workbook, we have a textbook. So these will come in the mail to you that you can go along with the teacher and do the problems. And then once we resume our live boot camps, like we've been doing for all these years, they're like $395. And you have to, as if you want to host one of our classes, you would contact us and you would get a minimum of 10 students. And then your kids would be free. That's one of the things we've been doing. We've been able to bless families all across America for years, as well as other countries. Just the fact that, hey, you get together a few kids, we'll come and teach, and your kids get to sit in at no cost. So, but so we choose not to do that. I mean, I can't believe the sad thing, Sam, is people will literally call me on the phone, and I'll hear stories like, I remember just recently a lady called me. She said, you know what? We spent $7,000 on tutoring, and my child's score went up 10 points. One more right question. And I was blown away. I've had people who spent $10,000. We have local expensive prep schools in the area that a lot of the kids will go to, and then they'll come to my program. So it's unfortunate, and I think especially if it doesn't work. If you spend $200 or $300 on a program and it doesn't work, hey, that's not going to set you back financially.
Yeah.
But if you spend $5,000 on a program and it doesn't work, that's going to hurt most families.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just blown away by those numbers. It's so inexpensive to be, and you're talking about not only your kid's future, the homeschooling. Most of the times, we're doing it for a reason. We're trying to help the kids and learn their path and their thing, and what a small price to kind of pay to help them through this next phase of the test. Because I was really worried, and our kids, I mean, they were really worried, and that anxiety. I think you had said something that anxiety is real when it comes to, because you just don't know, and there's so much pressure on that number, and so that anxiety is super real. And then to be able to potentially, even if you could just get some smaller scholarships, but potentially, if you do it right and go through your books in the high school, to be able to get a potential full scholarship or to help out. And I don't know. I love what you're doing. I watch your speaker sessions. I just absolutely love, how you're helping the homeschool community out, and not just the homeschooling. I know you do a lot in public schools and for everybody, but really on the homeschool side, I just love what you do and how you do it, and the testimonials I've seen and read and heard. It's just fabulous, and I just love spending time. I could probably spend hours just chatting with you and kind of going through how to get kids and what to do and how to do, but I just love it. I mean, and that's such a small price. I mean, you're right. I can see why people are like, I just can't. I was ready for thousands of dollars. But what else should parents know to this next step? Is there anything else that's been on your mind, that, or you're kind of here in the last couple years, that some of these new tests? I know the CLT. You're saying definitely take a look at that. What else word of advice would you give parents?
Well, one of the things too, it just kind of elaborate on what you just said, your last point there, was that you pay now or you pay later exponentially. And it takes about 21 years for the average student to pay off college loans. I mean, we're talking 2 decades of your life. So when you get out of college, instead of maybe getting a mortgage or traveling or starting a business, you're strapped with a lot of debt. And so if parents would understand that putting the time in now will ultimately pay off, and not, nobody wants to mortgage their house or get into their savings or retirement or get into some very expensive loans. And so if you can understand how life-changing it is, what a gift it is for your kids to be able to walk on that stage and get their diploma and have a clean slate to do whatever they want with their new career. It's amazing. And I've been blessed to hear those testimonies over and over again. And we have many of those on our website, many video ones. I got thousands of written testimonials. But the other thing too is, what I was going to say is, if you're thinking, hey, I've taken this test and it's, we just do terrible, it's kind of like we're talking about earlier. Understand it's not your child. Some people say, well, I just feel dumb. I've had people say these tests have haunted me for 20 years because I was a valedictorian of the school and yet I couldn't pass this test. It takes a different skill set. It's like if you're trying to write an essay using math equations, it doesn't make any sense. So if you're approaching a standardized test like an SAT or ACT, like you do at school, you're probably not going to do well because the questions are purposely misleading, and the wrong answers can be very tricky, very appealing, and very easy to pick. And so once you understand that and you change your mindset of how to approach these tests, you can beat these tests. And so that's why it's important to start early, because like I said, it's not instant. You cannot shortcut the shortcut, and you have to have that time. And so you want to incorporate this into your school I mean, for us, it was life changing. And a great thing is, people have got back with us over the years on not only did their child do well in the SAT or ACT or PSAT, but they also use that same information to get scholarship and free rides to law school or grad school, or maybe they use the strategies on the real estate test or the ASFAB, because most standardized tests are all the same. They all follow the same pattern. And if you can understand that, then those same skills can apply at your job someday. So when you get a wrong answer, there's two reasons why. Number one, you picked the wrong answer. And number two, you failed to see what the right answer was. And a standardized test company, they're going to have it written the same way every single time. And so it's a great class to add in, because it can be used as an elective on your transcript. So the kids aren't wasting their time by any means. And plus they're learning a whole new skill. It's almost like learning a whole new language. You're learning something other that most people don't know, because it's not taught in schools. It's not, people think that if you do well in school, you will beat these tests. That is so far from the truth. We are in many, many public and private schools, and I pretty much guarantee you the majority of our student body that takes our classes are either the top 10%, top 20%, the valedictorians, smart kids, and yet they're in the classroom because they bombed the test.
All right. The well, very good. I have totally enjoyed our time, because I think this is so important. And like you said, to be able to do the college prep genius, the high school prep genius, and use that as a curriculum, because character and logic are two things that aren't taught, unfortunately, and they're kind of sometimes harder to teach. And so to be able to learn this and to carry this into your job and everything else, I mean, the what a gift, and the homeschool parents, they're already, they're I wouldn't say struggling, but like what you said, most of the times it's a one income family. You're doing this on purpose, and you're doing this lifestyle to help your kids. And what a wonderful way to add this into not only helping them to get to that next level into college, but later on in life. And wow, that cost of college, like you said, that carries on for a long, long time. So well, I appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and I know you're speaking everywhere and doing all kinds of things. I appreciate the time that you've given us, because you've been there from the very beginning. And everybody, check out the exhibitor booth, the speaker booth. Go out and there's links out to her website, the College Prep Genius. Check them out, get involved, get it going, because this would be a perfect time to do this and learn about it. And there's really no, like we've been talking about this whole time, there's really not a time you shouldn't get started. I mean, this is fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, middle school. The quicker you can kind of get into the logic and get some of these tests, the better for your kids and everything. So, Gene, I appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to add before we head out?
Well, I'll tell you, the situation we're in such a crazy time in our society, and we need real leaders, especially down the road. And I think, as a homeschooling mom, I get a lot of flack sometimes from people who say, well, aren't you worried about your Christian child going to college and losing their faith and, all that. And, I say, look, here's the thing. Your kids go to college on their own faith, their own testimonial, not yours. And if they have a strong foundation, it doesn't matter whether they're away at college, whether it's a public school, private school, Christian school. If they're going to get in trouble, they're going to get in trouble at home. They're going to get in trouble. It's a heart issue. Yeah. And I am all about the believers getting an education, because you have to, and I'm not anti-trade jobs at all, but if you're going to be in some kind of leadership, whether you're in a congressional leadership, or you're in politics, or you're in a lawyer or a doctor, you do need a degree. And so for us as Christians and believers, for us personally, not everybody that might be a believer that's listening, but our kids are the ones who are going to, be there 10, 20 years from now. And so money shouldn't be an option of going to college. Your decision should not be the finance. It should be the institution. And I know for us, our decision went from how in the world are we going to pay for college to where in the world should my son go, because he had so many offers. And you can have that opportunity. And it's crazy that it's based on a test score, but I didn't make up the rule. They did. And I just show you how to play the game.
Yeah, and I love that. I love how you phrase those. Learning the test score, playing the game. And it is. And that's why I love how you put things together, because it's learning, but you're kind of beating the kind of the system, and it does help through all the testing and later on in life, to be able to kind of see this, how they question things and why they question things, and you're just learning how to beat it. Really, I love it. I absolutely love it. So everybody go out, check out the exhibitor booth, click on the link, go out to the website, get involved. If you're not already following Jean on social media, get onto all the social media and get into this, no matter what stage you're in. And if you're like us, that it crept up, and we were struggling on our first child, the getting ready to go to college, and it just snuck up so quickly. It's not too late, and get involved and reach out and grab her course, because wow, I mean, that what a great way to be able to provide something for your kid, uh, for college. So, Gene, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do. Um, yeah, I love you get all these testimonials, because I mean, it's life changing what you're doing. It's life changing. So, but all right, well, appreciate it, and everybody keep on going out to the Homeschool Connect Expo. Share all the on social media, and share the online college fair that we have. We have 80 plus universities and colleges that are looking for your homeschool students, and be sure to visit the College Prep Genius. And Gene, I would love to have you on sometime, maybe later on in February, and we can chat some more, because I know we got some questions coming in, and I know a lot of more people are going to have some questions, and maybe we'll do another live thing, and we'll just kind of put it out there if we can work on it. So.
I would love it, Sam. I am so blessed to share my knowledge and quote unquote expertise with people, because we've been there, done that. And yeah, have the questions keep coming in, and you and I will get back together, and I'll show you what to do, and even what to do and what grade they're in, because there are some things that you can do that can make a huge difference.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sam.